I, at the time, thought, our marriage is wonderful. My wife loves me. She loves what we're doing. It couldn't get any better.
Pastor Dave Wilson and his wife Ann had been married 10 years when he decided to pull out all the stops for their anniversary. He started with a dinner at an elegant restaurant.
He has a rose delivered to the table, one at a time, and after each rose arrives, we talk about that year in our relationship.
I just thought this is a great way to celebrate all that God's done in 10 years.
After dinner, Dave had one more surprise. He drove Ann to the school where they were about to launch their new church.
I thought it'd be fun, to park in this parking lot and pray, and then I just thought it'd be fun to go parking. I, leaned over to kiss Ann.
I had this dread in my heart, like, oh no.
She's like, sort of turned her head. I remember looking at her and said, is anything wrong?
I just said, Dave, I've lost all my feelings for you.
Dave and Ann's marriage had been in trouble before. They only dated for 9 months before marrying in May of 1980.
We didn't have any issues dating those 9 months, which put us into this thought of, oh, it's so easy. As long as you have Jesus at the forefront of your relationship, everything is smooth.
The honeymoon was wonderful. And then as soon as we got home and sort of started our life and started our ministry, it got really hard.
Conflicts turned into shouting matches, each refusing to give ground. Just 6 months into the marriage, they both had regrets.
We're driving to Nebraska where we were going to become the chaplain of the Nebraska Cornhuskers in ministry there. And she screams at me, marrying you is the biggest mistake of my life.
He said, you're absolutely right. And I remember thinking, I must have married the wrong person and the right person must be out there. Now what do I do?
We didn't talk about getting a divorce, but I know she had those thoughts and I had those thoughts. We're followers of Christ. He wants us to figure out how to make this work. We gotta figure out how to get this marriage to work.
Ironically, they started counseling young married couples at the University of Nebraska. In the process, their own marriage began to heal.
We started teaching it, we started talking about it, we started internalizing it, we started to learn how to resolve conflict, we started to take steps. And over the next several years, our marriage was transformed. Not perfectly, but man, oh man, we got to a place where we actually loved each other and loved marriage.
They spent the next 5 years the picture of a happily married couple, eventually starting a family. Then, they moved to Detroit. Dave became the chaplain for the Detroit Lions and got to work on his dream of starting his own church. But that left Ann spending many lonely hours raising their 2 boys.
He'd walk out the door and I would say things like, seriously? You're leaving again and I'm gonna be here alone? I hope our boys remember who you are.
Ann was saying all the kind of things that I should have heard. I just sort of compartmentalized and put it aside like, well, we're better than I think we are.
I started out super angry and then I was resentful, bitter. And then after a while, I was numb and I didn't even care that he was gone.
Still, Ann tried for years to be a supportive wife.
I felt lonelier in my marriage than as a single person, and my husband was sleeping right beside me.
Sitting in a parking lot on their 10th anniversary, Ann told Dave how she felt. He says his first impulse was to defend himself until God spoke to him.
It was 2 words, shut up. That's all he said, shut up.
And so I started sharing my heart. I said, I started out so angry, Dave, that you were always gone, that we weren't a team anymore. And then my anger turned to bitterness. My bitterness turned to resentment. And then my resentment turned to nothing. I don't even have hope that we're gonna make it.
Then, God showed them that both had lost sight of who should be first in their lives.
And I heard the voice of God one more time, almost miraculously, and it was 1 word, and it was repent.
And he starts to pray.
God, I repent. I'm lukewarm, you're not number 1. I preach it, I tell others to do it, and I'm not living it. And that needs to stop right here, right now, and I'm putting you back in control of my life. And I'm asking you to make me the husband she longs for and the dad my boys deserve, and help save this marriage.
I was instantly convicted because I felt like God was saying, Ann Wilson, you have been trying to find your life through Dave. You have been trying to find your happiness, your purpose, and all of your identity through your husband and your marriage. I never created him to fill all your needs. That is my job.
As Dave and Ann began focusing on God, everything else started falling into place.
And as a result of him being first, the other things flow out of that.
You're only going to be able to find life and happiness and joy and purpose and you name it from Jesus.
I feel like I love Dave more now than I've ever loved him before.
Dave and Ann have written a book, Vertical Marriage. They also lead marriage seminars and now host a radio show stressing the secret to a successful marriage is keeping God first.
We try to find our life and happiness horizontally, whether it's a person, a relationship, your marriage, and none of that's ever going to truly satisfy. The ache in our soul will never be satisfied by a person or anything on this earth. It's only satisfied by going vertical, by a relationship with Christ.
There's always hope. If God can resurrect his son from the dead, he can resurrect a dead marriage.